everybody? How is it going, everybody? This Friday, January 24th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. Real quick, before we get started today, President Trump is speaking in the hurricane-ravaged areas of North Carolina. We are going to throw it to there live to get his remarks. Here is President Trump.
Me and my neighbor, because a landslide was going to come, and they told me to get my stuff and get ready. And so while I was getting my stuff and getting ready, there was a knock at the door, so I thought it was the fireman. And I went to the door, and there stood my 21-year-old son. His name's Nathan, and he had drove as far as he could to get to me, but he hiked 5 miles, and it took him a really long time. And he got there, and he said, "Mom, grab a bag, we gotta go." And I said, "Son, there's no way I can hike out of here." And he's like, "No," he said, "we gotta go." So we started hiking out, and I seen one of my neighbors who, she had no clothes on. Her skin was like chunked up. It was just, she was blue. She had been in the waters, and where she had went, or I don't know, but it horrific is just all I can say. But then as me and my son hiked on out, we went through where this place, we call it Craigtown, but there were like a lot of family members there that passed away, like 11 of them, and there were people out everywhere looking for their loved ones, and there were dead bodies. You know, my son's like, "Mom, you're gonna see things you don't want to see," and so anyway, we got through all that. But I stayed at our church in our sound booth. My husband and I, we just slept up in the sound booth for a couple of months because we didn't have power or anything for about 2 months out there. And then we went back. I've been fighting with FEMA since day one. Our community, there's like 32 homes. We don't have a road and a bridge. We're driving through our neighbor's property. You know, I went to EMS and I said, "Look, my concern is if we have a fire or we have an emergency out here, you're not going to get to us. You can't get those big trucks up here." And I've called and called and called FEMA, and you know, I said, this happened on September 27th. That's 4 months ago. Well, for us, today is still September 27th. You know, we haven't had help. And so when I talk to FEMA, I'm explaining the road and the bridge, and they send me a letter that tells me to basically fix it and send in my receipts, and they'll refund me some money. I'm looking at a road and bridge that, honestly, the bridge itself is probably going to be $300,000, and the road could be close to that also, because the community has to have big boulders brought in. We're not a rich community. We can't fix it ourselves. You know, it's just, and as far as like house repairs, I'm still pending. I can't get money from FEMA until I fix the road and bridge and send in my proof that it's fixed and everything. It's just, it's been a nightmare, and I totally feel like that we have been forgotten. If it had not been for our fellow American citizens who stepped up to help us, I don't know what we would have done. I have 5 neighbors around me who completely lost everything. You know, I have damage to my house, and I don't feel entitled. I'm embarrassed to even say I need help, because, you know, and sometimes there's even that survivor's guilt is what they're calling it, but you feel guilty to even be alive sometimes. You know, when you look around, you see your neighbors that are gone, and it's just, you know, we need help. I wrote a letter to send to Congress. You know, I don't understand what's going on. If we can't get FEMA help, then will you guys help us? Will you step up and be our fellow citizen? Will you step up and be our neighbor and send us something? Help us get our community back. I could go on. It's just I don't know, it's just heartbreaking. I appreciate you.
Good daughter you have, huh? Good daughter. Take care of Mom. And your son must be great.
My son is great.
No, he sounds like a real leader and smart.
He really is. To hike
How would
in,
you have been if he didn't come and get you?
I don't know. I'd just would have been there until, because the only thing we could do, there was no way to get out there. The only thing we could do is just hike up to the church, the first church that was up there, about 3 miles, just to get, you know, maybe what we
Tell
needed
him
or
he's-
something. I don't know.
tell him he's around there.
He is. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, again, thank you very much, everybody. So we're going to be here. We're going to be working with our congressmen and women, and they're going to do a job. And Michael Watley is going to be very much in charge, and you'll get it done. And FEMA's ready to rock. They haven't done the job because they weren't really told to do the job by Biden. I guess Biden was thinking about other things, wasn't he? But they weren't told. What they did, what the past administration did to North Carolina is a disgrace. So I just want to wish you all well. I was here right after the event, and I couldn't believe it. I have never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot of bad things, but I've never seen anything like it. And it's an honor to meet the people behind me, and it's an honor to be with our congressional delegation and some of the other politicians in the area. And it's an honor to have Michael Watley at my side, because maybe we wouldn't be standing here as president if he wasn't. Him and Laura Trump were unbelievable as the head of the Republican Party. So he happens to come from a place called North Carolina. So I said, Michael, fix it. So good luck. Good luck. And we'll supply what you need. You know that. Okay? Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
Heartbreaking stories and how there's been so many local groups
Yeah.
stepped up to assist
Yeah,
these
that's
families.
one of the things you
Is
hear.
there any talk on having money instead of going to FEMA and going through the bureaucracy to go to
Yeah,
them?
that's what I want to do. We want to bring it locally so that a state takes care of its problem, and then they can bring it down to a local level, like Samaritan's Purse and Franklin, because that's one of the better examples. But you had numbers of people that did a great job. You have groups that did a great job and organizations. The one that didn't do a good job was the government. They did a bad job. They did, in many ways, they did no job. They weren't even available. So, good question. The answer is we go local. I think it'll work much better. FEMA is a very expensive organization that really doesn't work out very well. It hasn't. This is not the only example. So it was up to me right now. It ended right now, and I just let the state take care of the problem. I mean, you can always have problems. Let the state. If it's Florida, it's a hurricane. Let Florida take care of it. They don't need FEMA to come in. Yeah.
What kind of role do you envision for Mr. Watley? Is it within FEMA, outside of FEMA?
Yeah, I envision a very important role for him. It's any role he wants. He's a very capable guy, Michael Watley, a very capable guy, and he's friends and works with these guys, keeps them elected, right? They have to do a good job, otherwise, no matter how good Michael is, not going to work. But they've done an amazing job. They've been great. You're lucky you have great congressmen here, and woman, by the way, a great woman, very powerful woman. And they're going to do a great job. They'll do it together. They'll work together, and we'll supply what they need as they need it. We'll coordinate that, and we will immediately get the Army Corps, Michael, because you need roads built. You know, we're talking about the bridge. We're talking about roads and things. So we got to get them built, all right? Okay? Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
So why do we start the show off with President Trump down in North Carolina, speaking with and hearing from some of the hurricane victims who have clearly been left out to dry by the previous administration. And but more than that, more than the previous administration, if I'm being honest with you, left out to dry by the bureaucracy, by the having to fill out endless amounts of paperwork and the like when you may have just lost everything. This is not the time for bureaucracy. Once again, guys, my name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live on Friday, January 24th, 2025. I wanted to bring you guys that for a number of reasons. Many of you, a lot of you, shit, more than I could even name, did such great work in donating your time, your money, supplies, the like, for hurricane relief down in North Carolina. You guys know here at the Loud Majority, Callie did so much of the work. We sent down 5 tractor trailers, 5 53-foot trailers down to the people of North Carolina. We didn't do it for praise. We didn't do it for credit. We didn't do it for, plaudits or retweets. We did it because it was the right thing to do. And believe me, I wish I had the sort of organizational structure like a Franklin Graham to be able to set up something like a Samaritan's Purse to be able to help out Americans who are hurting through no fault of their own. These people didn't do anything wrong. They were let down by the people that were supposed to help them. Now, as President Trump said towards the end of it, this is not the first time, nor will it be, well, hopefully it'll be the last time, we see FEMA screw up. Screw up and screw up royally. It took 5 days for them to get water to the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina. That was, 2006, 2005? We all saw the way FEMA acted up here in the Northeast after Hurricane Sandy. Many people lost everything, got nothing. Of course, those people who had government contracts, they were well taken care of, as always, because there's nothing on the planet that's more lucrative than a government contract. It makes me sad to see. It really does. And that's why today, President Trump in North Carolina talked about overhauling FEMA or getting rid of it altogether. Now, obviously, this led to much consternation amongst the Leanne knows. Leanne Mazzello in the Facebook chat. Linda Nurse was a mess. It's my home. It's where I'm broadcasting from right now. After Hurricane Sandy. It is not... this Trump administration coming in now, a lot of people want to say that they just want to blow everything up and see where the pieces fall. No. Do I think there is a place for an entity like FEMA? Absolutely. And it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter whether you're in the hills of North Carolina or you're on the west coast of Florida or you're in the Palisades in California. There should be an entity out there that helps Americans when these sorts of things happen. Because if there isn't, then what the hell is the point of having a government at all? What is the point of having a government at all? The problem is that many of these institutions, like FEMA, have become so bloated with rot, bogged down by nonsense. These are the things that have to get cut. The red tape, the fact that there isn't like a hangar somewhere in like North Dakota or in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma that's just filled with first aid supplies and water and warm clothing, that when something bad happens, the president can't just go. Pallets of water, go. Drop them in from a plane. Because what the hell is the point? What is the point of having a government, a government the size of the one we have here, if they're not able to facilitate help when Americans need it? Now, I got to say, it is quite frustrating to see that our government has absolutely no problem coming together and helping people in need so long as they reside in other countries. We got to make sure that Ukraine's got what they need, guys. Because sure, the people of North Carolina are sleeping in tents in the middle of the winter. But hey, we got to make sure that Vladimir Zelensky's wife is done up in the absolute finest designer clothing with her $25,000 handbag. Because if she doesn't get to wear what she wants when she's on her trips, if Vladimir Zelensky can only afford one outfit, we've got to make sure that gets rectified immediately. However, keep dragging our feet. President Trump also said about if he was going to get rid of FEMA, divulging it to a local level. I like this. Why do I like this? Because it puts the onus and the responsibility on people as locally as possible. So a guy like Gavin Newsom can't come out and blame the federal government for the California wildfires. It's on you, bro. You're held responsible. We collectively, as 50 states, voted in President Trump, President Biden, President Obama, President Clinton, President Bush. But a fire in California is the responsibility of the people in California. Now, many people will sit back and say, but Kevin, blue states give more than red states to the federal government. That would only screw over the people of Alabama. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. Blue states are always going to give more. Why? Because blue states charge more for everything. Why do you think Jerry World in Texas, where the Dallas Cowboys play, cost like $800 million to build? And it's like 15 times nicer than Giant Stadium made in New Jersey because the costs were cheaper. I'd like to see everything divulged to the state. And to the liberals out there who are watching, who are bemused, they are verklempt, they are flummoxed at the idea of the state taking responsibility for disaster aid. Well, I'm very excited to introduce you all to the 10th Amendment of the United States. Some of us have been talking about it for quite some time. I know this is news to a lot of you because you think that the government can come save you at all times. Any government big enough to give you what you want is big enough to take away everything you have. One of the most powerful quotes in American history. And that's why I'd like this to be as local as possible. Local issues require local solutions. That way, let's just say you have a mayor, and let's just say she declares a national emergency, a state of emergency in her particular area, and then 2 days later, flies 10,000 miles away to attend the inauguration of a president on the other side of the world, and then her city burns to the ground. She is the one held responsible for that. Do I think the California wildfires were Joe Biden's fault? No. Got a whole country to worry about. He can't worry about the forests outside of Los Angeles. That's the job of the mayor of LA. That's the job of the governor of California. In much the same way as when something goes wrong in Florida, everyone looks to Governor DeSantis. It's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. So President Trump down in North Carolina talking about overhauling FEMA, which I love. It needs to be. If not done away with and started with something new. These institutions, these bureaucracies, they've gotten way too big. And because they've gotten way too big, they've become so inefficient. They've been bogged down by bureaucracy, red tape, regulation. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. Now, as we saw President Trump on the ground in North Carolina, look, we're seeing the results of this. We're seeing the results of this happening in real time. Because, look, President Trump actually cares. He does. Why would he be standing there? People say they'll go down for photo ops and all that. And I am someone who believes that, who thinks at least, that if there is an immediate issue, fire, hurricane, tornado, earthquake, mudslide, whatever it may be, even terrorist attack, it doesn't really do much of anything to have the president of the United States right there where it happened. A lot of people criticized Joe Biden for not going down to New Orleans following the terrorist attack. I think that if a president like that goes to that place, sometimes it can cause more harm than good, because Then there becomes fanfare, there becomes calamity, there becomes policing issues. I would much rather have the people there on the ground doing what they need to do rather than blocking off roads for a presidential motorcade. However, it's been months since this happened. I have no issue with President Trump going down there now and telling some of the real stories. Why? Because CNN, MSNBC, all these liberal media outlets, they can have on every FEMA director and emergency management coordinator and blah, blah, blah. They say, no, we're doing what needs to be done. And then you go directly to the people and ask them if they're getting everything they need, and the answer is no. They are not getting what they need. And I think, and maybe I'm off base here. Chat, let me know what you think. If America was better at handling its budgets, if the federal government, I should say, was better at redistributing money, not to the nonprofits and not to their friends, I would have no issue with the American taxpayer, the American tax base, supporting people in California who lost their homes, or people in Florida whose homes were washed away, or the people of North Carolina who had mudslides tear through. I would have no issue with that because here's a little nugget of information. It is going to cost just as much, so far at least, in the wildfires in California as we have given to Ukraine. If I could go back in time and take that money back from Ukraine, I would have no problem with it going to American citizens who need it. If America got itself into $36 trillion worth of debt, and all that money was spent here in America on Americans for Americans, I probably wouldn't mind it so much. But when I see the trillions and trillions of dollars being spent in Iraq and Afghanistan, when I see the fact that for some reason the American Defense Department is currently 4.5% of Germany's entire GDP. When I see, whenever there's a disaster, anywhere in the world, whether it's a nuclear incident in Fukushima, Japan, whether it's a famine in Somalia, whether it's a war in Ukraine, why is it that the entire United Nations all look down the bench and go, America, you got this, right? You guys gonna handle this? Great. Every time. Meanwhile, you got some, if you watched the beginning of the show, you saw someone in North Carolina talking about how he's living in a camper. The guy looks like he's about 6'7". I don't know if there's anybody out there who's more than 6.5 feet tall, but you can't live in a camper when you're a giant. I would much rather see those people made whole than fund the sanitation pensions of the Ukrainian garbage men. Every time. Bad Moon's right. No more foreign aid until we have a surplus. If we have extra, all right, maybe we'll dole it out. But until then, it is time to take care of the people here at home. And it is that sort of sentiment that is leading to a historic approval rating for President Trump. Before we get to that, guys, what's up? I want to say hello to the live chat. Let's get that up on the screen. Lisa Ann, how are you? Mike Teeny, how are you? Lucy, what's happening? What's happening? Marie, how are you? Tara Bishop. Marissa, thank you so much for retweeting the video. As always, make sure if you guys are watching on Facebook, you hit that like button. If you're watching on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. It's the little round bell so that you get notified every time we go live. If you're watching on Rumble, we've been crossing 300 Rumbles every single day, and I want to keep that bad boy going. I want to keep it going, guys. So hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are seeing historic numbers for President Trump in his first week in office. Now, why are we seeing this? Promises made, promises kept. What a thought. You know, I get a lot of shit from my fellow Republicans because I'm hard on Republicans. I am. I make no apologies about it, and I will continue to do so. Why? Because I want you to do what you campaigned on. Now, I know this is insane. This makes me nutty. This makes me, I don't know, some kind of radical. But like if you say you're going to do something, do it. Close the border. Release the JFK files. Oh yeah, we're talking about that. We're going to talk about those JFK files second half of the show. I don't think you guys are going to like my take on it. I hate to break it to everybody. But I've got a unique take, and if producer Frankie is watching this right now, he's really going to be upset. He's really going to be upset. But promises made, promises kept. When Donald Trump and Tom Homan told sanctuary cities, guys, we're not putting up with it anymore. You will not violate federal law. We will come into your cities and remove your illegal immigrant criminals. They meant it. Here's Tom Homan.
Yesterday, Tom, President Trump passed, along with the House and the Senate, the Laken-Riley bill. This is going to allow you to deport anyone who has been charged or convicted of a crime which would have rolled up someone like Jose Ibarra before he ever got a chance to kill Laken-Riley. But on the other hand, Tom, in order to enforce this bill or any other ICE or Border Patrol measures, you're going to have to deal with sanctuary cities, cities like Chicago. What are you going to do with sanctuary cities?
Well, President Trump's going to take action on them, and like he did the last administration, we got to remove federal funding from them. You know, why are we giving them SCAP funding and other law enforcement funding when they're not performing the law enforcement duties with ICE? You know, it's about public safety. And you're right, Laken-Riley's killer, he was arrested in New York on a child endangerment charge. If New York City was not a sanctuary city, ICE would have took him into custody. He would have been gone. So what I'm going to do with sanctuary cities, well, I'll let President Trump take action on them through the Department of Justice, but we're going to go to sanctuary cities. We're at sanctuary cities jails right now, but what sanctuary cities jurisdictions are causing is an officer safety crisis, right? And instead of ICE officers arresting the bad guy in the safety and security of a jail, where we know he don't have weapons, now these sanctuary cities release that public safety threat back in the community, which, again, is a public safety threat because you're putting the bad guy back in the community. So the public's at greater risk of crime, my agents are at greater risk of harm, and the alien's at greater risk. Arresting an alien in a jail safe. Everything's controlled. But anything can happen on the street, so it's even safer for the alien to be put in custody of ICE in a jail. Sanctuary cities make it less efficient and more dangerous, but it's not going to stop us. We're hitting every sanctuary city right now.
Right now. You're hitting cities like Chicago.
Right now.
Right now. This has been one of the most transparent administrations in American history. They are telling you what they are going to do. They are executing their plan. And they are coming through on campaign promises. And that's probably why President Trump is at historic approval numbers for him. How much further up will these approval numbers go? We shall see. Before we get to that, guys, Mike Lindell.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD, for up to 80% off everything on the website. That is the best way to support this channel and everything we've got going on over here. Guys, go to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Giddy up, let's go. So, following President Trump with his promises made, promises kept campaign, he is currently sitting at 52% in the polls. Now, much of this is what some would describe as a honeymoon phase, which will happen whenever any president gets into office immediately. People are very excited. People are very optimistic. Everyone seems to be waiting to see what all will come next. But this comes on the heels of not only a historic comeback in a presidential race, but it also comes on the heels of an unbelievably unpopular president before him. As a matter of fact, a historically unpopular president, and the people over at CNN are quite befuddled by it.
This particular number. All right, a good or great president at the end of their terms. Well, Barack Obama, 52% of Americans thought he was a good or great president at the end of his presidency, 2017. Donald Trump, very much behind Barack Obama at 36%. But look at how low Joe Biden is. My goodness gracious, you can't really get lower than 25% in our polarized era, because the bottom line is there's going to be a bunch of Democrats who would say that Biden was a good or great president no matter what he did. But yet it's only a quarter of the country who believes that Joe Biden was a good or great president. It is the lowest number since AP Nork started tracking this back at the end of Barack Obama's second term. Bottom line is Joe Biden goes out a very unpopular man at the end of a 50-plus year political career.
It is. It's so interesting, and there's so many questions too about like, are we so more divided now than we were back in 2017? Is it Joe Biden? There's a lot there to chew on.
Yeah.
I do want you to talk us through Trump's popularity at this point.
Yeah. So if Joe Biden's numbers are at his lowest point, right? Donald Trump's are right near his top point. We have a little thing up here. I'm so tall, I was managed able to actually bump it. Look at this. Trump's record favorable rating. You know, you go back 4 years ago, he was at 38%. Look at where he is today, 47%. That is the highest favorable rating Donald Trump has ever registered in an average of polls. So what we're dealing with is something very interesting, whereby, as I was saying, Joe Biden's at his worst point. Donald Trump is actually at his best point, being with this such a high favorable rating. One other little last thing I will point out, because I want to get to the forecast a little bit, is just take a look at this. Will Trump be a good president? In January of 2017, you saw 48% for Donald Trump. Look at where we are today. A majority expect that Donald Trump will be a good president. So expectations for him are quite high. We'll see if he's able to meet those expectations.
Yeah. That is unbelievable. 56% of Americans expect Donald Trump to be a good president. Now, we know things are going to go very well, but members of the radical left will continue to pretend like things are not going well. If I've got to see one more asshat on X, go look, the price of eggs didn't come down yet. The price of eggs didn't come down yet. It's been 3 days. But that's what disingenuous people will do. That's what liars do. That is what the radical left does. They're going to take one statistic each week that hasn't changed, and they're just going to keep moving it down. Keep moving him down. Blah, 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 blah. Despite the fact that they're getting virtually everything they want out of this administration, there seems to be some sort of at least goal towards peace in Gaza. Putin says he's ready to sit down and talk. people who need disaster relief. I don't know, it just feels different, you know? It just, you go out, people feel more, well, here in the Northeast, nobody feels optimistic because it's 9 degrees outside. But people feel better. When there's an optimism, people make optimistic decisions. When you are in a pessimism mood, you don't do things. You don't buy vehicles. You don't have children. You don't. When you think that the future is going to be less, it's going to be worse than the past, you don't make long-term decisions. And it's great to see that so many people are beginning to make these sorts of long-term decisions, like building apartments in Kings Park. I couldn't help myself. Nobody knows what that means except me. But nobody knows what that means except me. Even our politicians are starting to get a little pep in their step again. They're starting to feel themselves a little bit more. That of course I'm talking about Governor Ron DeSantis, who's starting to feel it again, babe. He's getting that sort of we played you a clip last week on the show of DeSantis going after the media. Here's another one. Some idiot reporter tries to use the phrase undocumented immigrants, and DeSantis fires right back at him.
WJXT News Channel 4 here in Jacksonville. I just have 4 questions. One, Florida is home to hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants who are working in areas.
Well, so the federal government has made clear that the statutory term, it's not they're illegal aliens. That's the statutory term, and that's what it is. And I think it's to try to water down. I mean, like, undocumented, it's like if I get in my car and I forget my wallet, okay, I don't have my document on me, like my driver's license, but I mean, I still have a right to drive. I just made a mistake. This is intentional to come in illegally. And it's not just a question of missing a document. It's a question of, you violated the law. That were very clear and knowingly, and with the help of the cartels in many cases.
So I'll rephrase that. So Florida is home to hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants who are illegal aliens, if you want to call it, who are working in areas of agriculture, farming, construction, hospitality. I'm just wondering, once we start to see, these significant roundups of these people, is there a plan in place to help those industries, to prevent those industries from experiencing true hardship, financial hardship?
So here's what I'd say. They made the same arguments in 23 when we did our immigration, Cayenne Road. We did E-Verify. When any of those industries, when they hire new people, they've got to verify their immigration status.
They've got to verify their immigration status. And yeah, I want to be clear. And here's my bone to the liberals. I'll throw a little bone out to you. You're right. CEOs and stock prices may take a bit of a hit. But maybe it's time for, the Marriott in Miami or Tyson Chicken or any of these other large conglomerates to actually start paying people more money to incentivize them to come work for them. What a thought. Instead of importing a class of indentured servants living on slave wages so that, you can show better quarterly numbers at your next stockholder meeting. You see, that's the populace, right? I hope corporations make as much money as humanly possible. I hope that you out there, if you're a tech bro, if you're Sam Altman and you're one of these guys and you're out there and you're figuring shit out and you're coming up with all these new things, I hope you make an unbearable amount of money. I hope you are swimming in money like Scrooge McDuck. But I hope that is made in a free market system where a person gives you their money in order to get a product back, not by skimming pennies off the top, not by importing the totality of the third world while American 22-year-olds sit home playing Call of Duty or whatever video game they're playing these days. The youngins, the kids. If you got a 22-year-old and they're not working, that's your fault. Like, you need to get off your fat ass and go participate in the labor force. I'm not working for $20 an hour. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Well, everybody watching here, their first job was for pennies, and you learned. You didn't sit home and get a vitamin D deficiency at the age of 23 because you're afraid of the sun. If you think that Donald Trump is going to be able to fix this American culture on his own, I'm sorry. This is going to take a collective effort from every single one of us. But Ron DeSantis isn't the only one that's sort of getting his groove back. Another one is a man named John Thune, who, I got to be honest with you, kind of looks like Herman Munster. When it comes to the confirmation hearings in the Senate, we're going to get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That is your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA TV related. Guys, check out the LFA TV store. And while you guys are there, please consider becoming a monthly donor to LFA TV. That is how we keep all these lights on and keep me looking nice and bright here. Guys, go to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. So, John Thune, we played a clip of him on the show the other day. He's not having it. You want to use these delay tactics? You want to do this? We'll stay here all night. We'll stay here all weekend. And if there's one thing members of Congress and members of the Senate don't want to do, it is work nights and weekends. If they wanted to work nights and weekends, they would get a real job. And John Thune is telling them, look, particularly when it comes to Pete Hegseth, you're going to deal with this, and you're going to deal with it now.
Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection.
Mr. President, over the next couple of days, the Senate will consider two more of the President's nominees. Kristi Noem to be Secretary of Homeland Security and Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense. A former House member and current governor of the great state of South Dakota, Kristi brings both experience and commitment to her new role. Mr. President, one of the biggest challenges facing the Department of Homeland Security right now is securing our nation's border. 4 years of record-breaking illegal immigration at our southern borders left our country vulnerable to a whole host of security concerns, from terrorist entries to cross-border criminal activity like drug trafficking. Fixing this crisis and restoring respect for the rule of law is one of President Trump and Republicans' top priorities, and it's going to require a decisive and committed leader at the Department of Homeland Security. I believe Kristi has everything it takes to undertake this task. Mr. President, we're also considering the nomination of Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense. A veteran of the Army National Guard who served tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, Mr. Hegseth will bring a warrior's perspective to the role of Defense Secretary and will provide much-needed fresh air at the Pentagon. Gone will be the days of woke distractions. The Pentagon's focus will be on war fighting. Mr. Hegseth will concentrate on restoring American strength and repairing the deficiencies in our readiness. As our first president said more than 200 years ago, and I quote, "To be prepared for war is one of the most effectual means of preserving peace," end quote. And in a world that has grown increasingly unstable over the past few years, our priority has to be ensuring that the United States military is prepared to meet and defeat any threat. I will continue to ensure that the Senate works as quickly as possible to get President Trump's team in place. Mr. President, before I close, I also want to mention the March for Life, which will be held today in Washington, D.C. As they do every year.
Also, John Thune talks about the March for Life, which is going on outside of the mall right now. I hope everybody out there is warm. I know the New York City Young Republican Catholic Caucus sent an entire busload down there. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you guys. I absolutely wanted to. Although after this weekend in Washington, D.C., I don't think I'll ever go back in the winter ever again. Unless, of course, Long Island decides to send me to Congress. I'm only kidding. Not really. So congratulations to the New York City Young Republican Catholic Caucus. They sent the whole bus down there. You guys are doing great. Great stuff, as always. So John Thune is ready. We are seeing an attitude right now where we're not putting up with this crap anymore. We're not putting up with the delays. We're not putting up with the tactics. We're not putting up with any of that. You guys were sent to D.C. to do a job, and it's time for you guys to actually do it. Yeah, let's just see the chat light up. Let's just see the chat light that up real quick. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. See, this is, and I'm going to give you guys an example of some of the nonsense that goes on. And I've gotten into arguments with people before about what exactly constitutes the deep state. The deep state. Some people think it is a cabal of people conspiring and twisting their mustaches in back rooms filled with cigars and cognac. But to me, a deep state that is far more easy to defeat is a deep state that does things like this. So the ATF, an organization that shouldn't exist in the first place, the ATF, as my friend Matt Gaetz once said, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms sounds like a Friday night in Florida. They got to get rid of all their DEI programs under this new federal law. So what did they do? Well, instead of firing their DEI coordinators, they just changed their title from Chief Diversity Officer to Senior Executive. No. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has been accused of allegedly quietly changing the job title of its former DEI officer. The ATF defied President Donald Trump's order to place DEI workers on leave, instead giving their DEI officer a new title. The ATF, a federal law enforcement agency, blah, 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 previously employed Lisa Boykin as its chief diversity officer before her title was changed on the ATF's website this week to senior executive. Yeah, that is something that could very easily be fixed. No. You were hired to be a DEI officer, and now you must go. Now you must go. Why? Because we don't want you anymore. We don't want you anymore. We don't need you anymore. If I'm being totally honest, we really didn't need you in the first place, but considering the previous administration was staffed by 22-year-old ideologues who have never done a proper day's work in their lives, somehow we ended up with you. But, sorry, Lisa Boykin, you must now go. You have been excused from your duties, and we don't need you anymore. Guys, before we keep rocking and rolling, hit that thumbs up button because we're going to make fun. We're going to make fun of the media in a minute, and then we're going to make fun of AOC, and then we're going to make fun of Justin Trudeau because Justin Trudeau is almost gone. He has almost left us, and I got to be honest, I'm going to miss him when he's gone. I'm sure many of my friends from Canada will not like the fact that I said that, but we will bid a fond farewell to Justin Trudeau because apparently his ousting is, of course, not his fault. It is the fault of right-wing trolls. But before we get to that, AOC is very, very upset. AOC is very upset. And she's upset not because of any policy that Donald Trump has put forth. No. She is not upset because of DEI. No. AOC is upset because famous fashion designers decided to dress Melania Trump for the inauguration. Here she was on Jon Stewart, a guy who literally, John, could you be less relevant?
There was never any question about who or who wouldn't show up to the inauguration, for example, or how they would be received, I think.
Right.
And they know that. And so they're able to, to your point, Trump is able to run roughshod through these things because he has a lot of the party's number in terms of how they're going to operate. And I think that sometimes making certain calculated but unpredictable choices is a way that we can gives ourselves the upper hand.
And it also, I think in some ways, in some ways, it reveals some of the Democrats' posturing as performative. You know, when you're creating apocalyptic messaging about a fascist,
Literally,
literally coming over and doing these things, and then when he wins, sitting down with watercress sandwiches and cream cheese and doing the whole 9 yards, it makes you wonder, well, did you believe any of the shit you were saying before?
exactly.
Or was that something, again, that was just a part of your messaging?
Yeah, no, it's really true.
I will say this, and I'll be honest. AOC and the guy from Big Daddy, they do have a point. Media has beclowned themselves in such a serious way. You cannot go on your television show, claim a man is Hitler for a great many number of years, and then go and have dinner with him. Because then you have to ask yourself, are they lying? Were they lying then, or are they lying now? And it is absolutely right for many on the left to distrust their media figures. You know I do. I know you do. They're on the way out. And they've done it to themselves. They are responsible for their own demise. And every day on this show, we are going to get more and more and more stories about just how the media did it to themselves and what the consequences of this are going to be. We've got 2 more examples of this in just 1 second. Before we do that, guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. We've got so much cool stuff over here. Today, I think we're going to highlight the women's category here, because we've got a whole bunch of stuff for you ladies. A whole bunch of stuff. We got hoodies and bathing suits. We got leggings, t-shirts, the whole works for all the ladies watching the show. And I know we've certainly got plenty of them here. Certainly got plenty of them if you are somebody into that sort of thing. Check out loudmajorityusa.com. I mean, I could do a whole show on the amount of products we have on here. We got leggings for the ladies. There's some joggers down here. Where are they? I'm not sure what the difference is between leggings and joggers. I'll be honest with you. Bathing suits, hoodies, polos, t-shirts, hats, everything you guys need. Crop top sweaters. Oh yeah. As I said, I'm not really sure what the difference is between leggings and joggers, but maybe somebody could let me know. Maybe are they like looser? I don't really know. But guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this network and everything we've got going on over here. So, Jim Acosta, who we played on yesterday's show, getting made to look like a buffoon by Tim Burchett when he told them that more people are watching SpongeBob SquarePants than watching CNN. It is rumored that he may be leaving CNN after apparently, I love this, CNN has moved him from his current midday slot to midnight. Wow. That is, for those of you not in television, that is what you do to somebody when you want them to quit, but they won't. If anybody here has ever worked in like a big business and your boss comes to you and tells you, you're going to be working midnights from now on when you used to work the daytime, that's their way of telling you, I want you to leave, but I can't fire you. Jim Acosta, the sanctimonious attention whore over at CNN, is being moved from his 10 a.m. slot at the network to midnight. This comes as reports of CNN slashing up to 200 jobs, with Pamela Brown and Wolf Blitzer taking Jim Acosta's spot. Why do people keep putting Wolf Blitzer on television? He looks like a Furby. It's not good practice. Somebody else leaving the media landscape is someone by the name of Nora O'Donnell. I'll be honest, I didn't know who she was, so I had to look her up. Apparently, she hosts CBS Nightly News. I don't know what that is, but she will be leaving that post in prime time at a major network. She'll be leaving that, getting while the getting's good. Here's this woman. I don't know who she is.
This has been the honor of a lifetime to anchor this legacy broadcast. You know, the CBS Evening News is, for good reason, the longest-running evening newscast in America. And it is powered by the finest journalists around the world, the correspondents, producers, researchers, and crews who work tirelessly to bring you the news every night. And that won't change because journalism matters. I know that because I've heard it from so many of you, our viewers. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for trusting us and welcoming hard news with heart into your homes. I will miss you too, but I will see you on CBS News programs, including mornings, 60 Minutes, Sunday morning, and in prime time. So, for the final time, that's tonight's CBS Evening News. I owe it all to everybody I work with, honestly. Love you. Good night.
Imagine that entire room it takes to run a half-hour news show. I do a 1-hour news show, and do you know who does it? Me. Just me. They're all fake. They're all fake, and that's why they're all dying a slow death. Guys, I could have talked. You know what? I'll do the Kennedy files on Monday because I do want to talk about the JFK files. We run out of time today, but just a heads up when you guys tune in, I'm gonna roll the dice and say you guys probably aren't going to like my take on the Kennedy files. Just a heads up. Fair warning, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and everybody do me a favor. Everybody do me a favor. Can we please pray for Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills? Because he is the only man in the country standing between you, me, and a Taylor Swift Super Bowl. So, let's hope the Buffalo Bills kick some ass this weekend. A sentence I've never said in my entire life and hope to never have to say again. But, hey, it is what it is. Guys, have a good weekend. Will Johnson coming up next. Until Monday, everybody. Stay loud.